before we ever step into any kind of relationship, commitment, or partnership, whether it's personal, professional, or emotional. We need to ask ourselves one powerful question. What is my vision? What do I see for my future? Not just 5 years from now, but 5 months from now, 5 days from now. What direction am I really heading in? Too often we get caught up in the desire to move with someone without being clear on where we're even going ourselves. And that's dangerous because movement without direction is just motion, not progress. It feels like we're doing something, but we're not getting anywhere meaningful. Having a vision is more than just having dreams. A dream is something you can see when your eyes are closed, but a vision is something you pursue with your eyes wide open. It's calculated, it's structured, it's fueled by purpose. Vision creates alignment, it becomes your compass in moments of distraction. It keeps you focused when emotions try to pull you off track. Without vision, we invite confusion, we welcome chaos. We end up walking into situations with people who don't match where we're going because we haven't taken the time to define it for ourselves first. And then we wonder why it didn't work out, why things felt off, why our energy was constantly being drained. The truth is, we lack direction, so everything felt like a detour. Understanding your vision means sitting down with yourself in truth and asking, what do I really want out of life? Not what looks good, not what other people expect, but what speaks to my soul, what excites me when no one's watching. What am I willing to suffer for, grow for, and show up for every single day? Because once you know that, once your vision is crystal clear, it becomes much easier to filter everything out. Every opportunity, every relationship, every invitation into your life either supports your vision or distracts you from it. There is no middle ground. So before the venture, before the partnership, before the commitment, before giving someone space in your story, you owe it to yourself to understand the story you're even trying to write. You owe it to your future and to anyone who might walk beside you one day to know what you stand for and where you're going. That's the real foundation. Because when your vision is strong, you don't just attract people who look good, you attract people who fit. Before we bring anyone into our world, before we share our time, our energy, our space, our love, we need to be honest about something. Am I ready? Not ready to impress, not ready to entertain, but ready to carry the weight of responsibility that comes with building something meaningful. Because love, growth, business, none of these things thrive in the hands of the unprepared. Readiness isn't about perfection. It's not about having it all figured out or having all the pieces in place. Readiness is about willingness. It's about showing up for your life like it's your job, because it is. It's about owning your choices, your actions, your past, your progress, and most of all, your process. We live in a world that's quick to blame, quick to point fingers, quick to say, they hurt me, they left me, they didn't understand me. But the real question is, were you ready for them? Were you emotionally available, mentally stable, spiritually grounded, financially aware? Did you bring accountability to the table? Or did you expect someone else to carry your baggage and your future at the same time? Responsibility is the foundation of maturity. It says, I won't hand over the pen and then complain about how you write in my story. It says, I know who I am and I know where I need to grow. Because until you can hold yourself accountable in private, you will keep looking for people to fix you in public. Let's be real, readiness doesn't come from books or quotes or watching others live their lives. It comes from doing the hard, boring, consistent work when no one is watching. It comes from waking up early to chase your goals, from managing your emotions when everything feels like it's falling apart, from saying no to temporary pleasure for long-term peace. And responsibility is more than just taking care of your business. It's also about protecting others from your unhealed self. It's recognizing when your wounds are bleeding into your words, your actions, your relationships. It's saying, I need to pause, not because I don't care, but because I care too much to carry someone into a storm I haven't made peace with yet. People talk about wanting something real, but real takes responsibility. Real requires readiness. You don't stumble into a great connection or a powerful purpose by accident. You walk into it with clarity and character. So before you reach for a title, a role, a person, ask yourself, am I really ready for what I'm asking for? Because readiness is the gatekeeper of what we receive. If you're not ready for it, even the right thing can feel wrong. There's a lot of talk these days about connection, chemistry, and compatibility. And while all of that matters, none of it lasts without one essential element: stability. Stability is the ground we stand on. Without it, everything we try to build, no matter how passionate, beautiful, or exciting, will eventually collapse under pressure. Stability isn't flashy. It doesn't make headlines. It's not the part of life that gets praised on social media, but it's the quiet power behind everything that endures. It's in the routines, the discipline, the self-control, the emotional regulation, the financial planning, and the calm that comes from knowing you've handled your business internally and externally. Because here's the truth: chaos cannot build a castle. If your inner world is constantly in turmoil, if your decisions are driven by impulse and not intention, if your peace is one text or one bill away from breaking, then you're trying to plant seeds in shifting sand, and you can't grow anything solid there. Stability doesn't mean life is perfect. Life will always have storms, but when you're stable, you don't break every time the wind blows. You don't make permanent decisions in temporary emotion. You don't drag others into your storms just because you never learned how to calm your own seas. And let's not mistake stability for stagnation. It doesn't mean you stop evolving or that you've figured everything out. It means you've developed enough consistency and self-trust to weather life's challenges without losing yourself or taking others down with you. It means your mood doesn't dictate your behavior, your stress doesn't excuse your actions, and your circumstances don't control your character. Stability is also financial, not in the sense that you need to be rich, but you need to be responsible. Money may not buy love, but a lack of discipline can strain even the strongest bond. Are your needs met? Are your habits sustainable? Are you building or just surviving? Then there's emotional stability. Can you communicate without exploding? Can you be honest without attacking? Can you sit with uncomfortable truths without running from them? Because if you can't handle pressure alone, how will you handle it with someone else? Relationships amplify who we are, not fix what we're not. Building with someone is a blessing, but only when both people are standing on solid ground. Otherwise, one becomes the foundation for the other, and that's not love, that's imbalance. That's codependency dressed as commitment. So before you invite anyone into your space, ask yourself, is this a space they can feel safe in? Is this a space I've cleaned, cultivated, and cared for? Because you can't offer peace from a place that hasn't found it. Stability is strength, it is safety, it is the invisible force that turns potential into partnership. One of the most overlooked but critical pillars of a healthy life, a healthy business, and a healthy relationship is emotional independence. It's the ability to stand strong in who you are without needing someone else to validate your worth, manage your emotions, or carry the weight of your healing. Because no matter how close two people become, no one can do the inner work for you. Emotional independence is not about isolation or detachment. It's not about pushing people away or pretending you don't need anyone. It's about learning how to support yourself so you don't become emotionally dependent on others for stability, happiness, or identity. When you're emotionally dependent, you start looking for people to rescue you from feelings you've never learned to sit with. You expect them to make you feel whole when you haven't learned how to be whole on your own. You hand over the remote control to your emotions and then get upset when someone else changes the channel. But the truth is, no one can complete you. They can complement you, they can support you, they can walk beside you, but they cannot fill in the blanks that you refuse to face. That's your job. That's your responsibility. Emotional independence is knowing how to calm yourself down without sending a dozen texts. It's knowing how to comfort yourself without seeking constant reassurance. It's being able to say, I feel this, without making someone else feel like they're responsible for fixing it. Because when you're emotionally independent, you no longer operate from desperation, you operate from clarity. Let's be honest, when we're emotionally dependent, we tend to confuse intensity with intimacy. We cling harder, we expect more, we react stronger. Every disagreement feels like abandonment, every boundary feels like rejection, every pause feels like punishment. That's not love, that's survival mode. That's our inner child reaching out for someone to fix what we never healed. Emotional independence is what allows you to love from a place of peace, not pressure. It lets you choose someone not because you need them, but because you want them, because their presence adds to your life, not fills a void. When you're emotionally grounded, you don't crumble when things get uncertain. You don't spiral when someone else pulls back. You don't lose yourself trying to hold on to someone else. It also means you're not afraid of solitude. You're not afraid of sitting with your thoughts, your fears, your questions. You can be with yourself without running from yourself. And when you can do that, you stop making others responsible for your inner world. Emotional independence breeds emotional maturity. It allows you to show up in relationships as a partner, not a patient, as a builder, not a burden, as someone who brings peace to the table, not just problems to solve. Because in the end, no matter how deep the connection, no one can carry what you're unwilling to hold. And when you learn to stand on your own emotionally, everything else in your life becomes stronger. Your choices, your relationships, your boundaries, and your voice. When we step into someone's life, whether it's personally, professionally, or emotionally, we should be asking ourselves one key question: what am I here to give? Not what can I take, not how can I benefit, not how can I be entertained, supported, or saved, but what am I contributing? We live in a world that has conditioned many of us to be consumers, not contributors, always looking to receive more than we're ready to give. We scroll through highlight reels, chase instant gratification, and sometimes treat people like vending machines, expecting love, time, money, validation, comfort without checking if we've even made a deposit of value into their life. But relationships, any type of meaningful relationship, are not built on extraction. They are built on exchange. Healthy ones are mutual. They breathe, they balance, they work when both people are committed to giving, not just getting. Contribution is not about perfection. It's not about being everything to everyone. It's about intentionality. It's showing up with the mindset that says, I want to be an asset in your life, not a liability. That doesn't always mean financial support or grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as bringing peace instead of pressure, offering encouragement instead of criticism, or giving someone your full presence in a world full of distractions. And here's the truth: when your only reason for being in someone's life is what they can do for you, you've already failed them and yourself. Because what happens when their energy runs low? What happens when they can't pour into you for a moment? Do you still value them or do you disappear? Too many people walk into spaces expecting to be carried, expecting to be catered to, expecting someone else to fix what they refuse to face. That's consumption. That's draining. And over time, it erodes trust. It creates resentment because no one wants to feel used. They want to feel chosen, valued, and supported. Contribution also means knowing your own worth. It means building yourself up so you have something to bring to the table. You don't show up empty-handed and expect a full course meal. You take the time to grow, to learn, to heal, to become someone who multiplies peace, not someone who adds pressure. It's being the kind of person who makes others breathe easier, not because you solve all their problems, but because your presence doesn't create more. It's checking your energy before you enter someone's space. It's asking, am I showing up to build or just to borrow? Am I here to support or to drain? Am I here because I have something to offer or just because I don't want to be alone? Real contribution is quiet. It's not always loud or flashy. It might not get applause, but it's felt deeply. It builds trust. It lays the groundwork for loyalty. It says, I'm not here just for the good times. I'm here to help hold things together too. Because when both people in any relationship focus on what they can give, not just what they can get, that's when real growth happens. That's when things feel safe, strong, and sustainable. Time and energy, two of the most valuable currencies we have, yet two of the most carelessly spent. Unlike money, once time is gone, it doesn't come back. Once energy is depleted, it takes intention to restore. And in a world that is constantly demanding our attention, we must learn the art of protecting both if we want to live with purpose and build with people who matter. Respecting your time means understanding that not everything deserves a seat at your table. It means recognizing that every minute you spend is a minute you never get back. So why waste it on distractions, drama, or people who are just passing time instead of pursuing growth? Respecting your energy means becoming aware of what drains you and what fuels you. It's learning to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. It's understanding that your energy isn't infinite, and if you give it to the wrong things for too long, you'll have nothing left for the things that actually matter. We have to stop glamorizing being busy and start being intentional. Busy doesn't mean productive. Being constantly occupied doesn't mean you're progressing. Sometimes it just means you haven't set boundaries. You've said yes to too much. You've allowed your schedule to be controlled by people who don't respect what you're building. And when it comes to relationships, romantic, business, or otherwise, respecting time and energy becomes even more critical because someone who truly values you won't constantly demand more than you can give. They won't guilt you for focusing on your goals. They won't interrupt your grind just to satisfy their ego. The right people respect your path because they're walking their own. But that respect has to start with you. You teach people how to treat your time by how you treat your own. If you keep giving it away freely, showing up for everyone but yourself, making space for chaos while your peace is neglected, you're not just being generous, you're being careless with your purpose. Discipline plays a huge role here. Are you disciplined enough to stay focused when it's easier to be distracted? Can you say, I need to handle this first instead of dropping your priorities to please someone else? Can you put your head down and work while the world is partying, knowing that your time is too precious to be wasted on temporary pleasure. Respecting your time also means slowing down enough to reflect. Not every hour has to be filled with activity. Stillness is powerful. Reflection sharpens your focus. You need time to process, to plan, to recharge. Because constant output without intentional input leads to burnout. And burnout doesn't just rob your energy, it steals your joy, your creativity, your clarity. When you respect your energy, you become more selective with your circle. You stop entertaining chaos. You distance yourself from inconsistency. You recognize that you don't need to prove your worth by being constantly available. Your presence becomes more valuable when it's rooted in purpose, not in obligation. And when you protect your time, you protect your progress. You give yourself the space to grow, to build, to create something solid, something that lasts. Because the truth is, you can't build a meaningful life if you're always distracted by meaningless things. One of the biggest traps we fall into, whether in relationships, partnerships, or even within ourselves, is confusing potential with pattern. We get so captivated by what something could be that we ignore what it consistently is. And in doing so, we end up investing our time, our hope, and our heart into ideas, not realities. Potential is seductive. It whispers promises of growth, of change, of evolution. It makes us believe that if we just wait long enough, pour in enough love, offer enough support, things will magically transform. And sometimes they do, but more often they don't, because potential means nothing without pattern, and patterns tell the real story. Patterns are the behaviors, the habits, the choices someone makes over and over again, especially when no one is watching. They reveal what's truly rooted in a person, not just what they talk about when they're inspired or emotional. Talk is cheap, inspiration fades, but patterns are reliable, they're consistent, they show you what you're actually dealing with. This is true not just in how we view others, but in how we evaluate ourselves. We love to dream. We love to speak on what we're capable of, what we're going to do one day. But if our patterns reflect procrastination, avoidance, inconsistency, or self-sabotage, then we're not moving in the direction of our potential. We're stuck in a cycle of In relationships, this confusion can become toxic. You fall in love with who someone could become while ignoring who they are right now. You make excuses for behavior that's hurting you because you've convinced yourself it's just temporary. You see the light in them, but you're ignoring the shadow that keeps following you both around. But here's the truth: potential is not a promise, and love doesn't fix patterns. Accountability does. Growth does, self-awareness does, and if someone isn't showing a pattern of growth, then you're holding on to hope for someone who may never become what you need. We have to stop romanticizing struggle. Stop clinging to the idea that our love, our patience, or our loyalty can change someone who doesn't even want to change themselves. You can't build a future with a version of someone that only exists in your imagination. And you can't build one for yourself either unless you start honoring your own patterns over your potential. Ask yourself, what do I keep doing? What choices do I repeat even when I know better? What cycles am I stuck in? And what am I pretending will fix itself over time? Because your life will always reflect your patterns, not your potential. You can have all the talent, all the dreams, all the intentions, but if your habits don't align, you'll keep ending up in the same place, asking why nothing's changed. Recognizing the difference between potential and pattern takes emotional maturity, takes honesty, And sometimes it takes walking away from things or people you believed in simply because their reality can't keep up with your hope. And that's hard, but it's necessary because freedom doesn't come from clinging. It comes from clarity. And once you learn to see clearly, you stop forcing what doesn't fit and start focusing on what actually flows. So when we talk about business, we're not talking about money, ego, or ambition. We're talking about the business of becoming whole, the business of being ready, the business of doing the inner work so we don't keep projecting our chaos onto others or inviting people into storms we haven't yet made peace with. Because love, partnership, purpose, they don't thrive in confusion. They don't grow in chaos. They need structure, they need clarity, they need a foundation that's been built, not begged for. So before you look outward, look inward. Before you ask someone to show up for you, ask if you've been showing up for yourself. Do the business that matters most, the business of healing, growing, becoming, because when you take care of that, everything else has a place to stand on. That's how you stop repeating patterns. That's how you stop settling for potential. That's how you build something real. The truth is, nothing outside of you will ever feel right until what's inside of you is in order. Handle your business. So when it's time to share your life, you're not offering a burden, you're offering a blessing.